Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today in Project Setup and Revit MEP. Got a couple of things to talk to you guys about before we just jump into this. More of a sales thing. We just need to let everybody know that if you have any older products that you need to upgrade, make sure you get in touch with one of your salespeople by as soon as possible, because it ends on July 24th, 25th-ish, the promotions for Autodesk. So if you have outdated product that you didn't think was upgradable, make sure you do that. And on January 31st, 2015, Autodesk will no longer be allowing any upgrades whatsoever. So those are on sale right now, so definitely get in touch with me or whoever your salesperson is and get pricing on that. You can always shoot me an email at cporter@cad-1.com. So, but we do appreciate you guys joining us. Looks like we have a ton of people.
Chris, I knew about the one coming up next year, but what's the promotion that ends July? What does that mean to me?
Basically, if you have any outdated products from R14, which is release 14, not 2014, which is what, 93, 94, all the way up, you can go ahead and call us up, and I think it's a 30% discount off your product. It's a bigger discount if you add subscription, which Autodesk is directing more people towards, is having subscription on their products. So
if I have AutoCAD 2008, I can get a little bit of a trade-in value, essentially?
You can.
Okay.
Right.
What happens if I wait until August?
It's less of a trade-in value.
So what happens if I wait until February?
Then you can't trade it in at all.
You get zero
trade-in. You can continue. That's one question a lot of people have is, what happens to my software if I'm still using, say, release 2010 or 11? You can continue using it. There's just no more upgrades. So take advantage of any discount Autodesk can offer you. And some of the older software up to 2008 and older, you do have to add subscription as part of the promotion. The newer stuff you don't, but again, it's one of those Autodesk is pushing you that way. Why upgrade it if you can't upgrade it in the future? So hit me up. Let me know if you have any questions.
All right, cool. Let's do the virtual hand raising. If you can hear me, on the GoToMeeting toolbar, click on the button to raise your hand. And just make sure that the hands are going up. Awesome. Looks like there's a significant number. There we go. Cool. I'll go ahead and get started. So I've let that screen up there. Come on. Go ahead and change. Come on. There we go. So what are we talking about today? Looking at essentially you're setting up a project in Revit. So if the situation is, help, it's my first project in Revit, where do I start? Step number one, don't panic. We can help. We can get you through this. That's what I'm going to be running through today. I have some assumptions. This is, first of all, where are you? Where are you at? As regarding Revit anyway. So this is kind of some assumptions. This is my starting point. I'm assuming that you have Revit installed on your computer. I'm assuming that you basically know how to use Revit. You've taken a class, at least enough to be dangerous. This is not going to be a Revit class. This is going to be a process, working through some stuff, and we're not going to have time to cover every little thing, but we'll go through the process. So in the next 45 minutes, we will set up a Revit project. And also, I'm assuming that you do have the file, a Revit building model from the architect. We can do a few of these steps without it, but after that, we're going to need that file to get started. And finally, I'm also assuming that you do have a copy of the BIM management plan for this project, or maybe the BIM project execution plan. Well, you don't have one of those?
Hmm.
Well,
I don't have one.
Yeah, first thing is call up the architect, call the client, or whoever the prime is, and ask for it. And when they say they don't have one, act incredulous, because everyone else does it. Everyone else has one, and they really should have one. But a lot of times there's not. No one's taken the time to plan ahead, which can be useful.
So as far as that, what are you talking about? Is that like, if I start the project in, say, 2014, is that part of the management plan?
That would be part of it.
Okay.
And also, it kind of overlaps with what I have as the next step, Revit project kickoff meeting. Not just a project kickoff meeting where the principals and the owners meet, and though they can maybe spell Revit, say, oh yeah, we do that BIM thing. But there's a lot of specific questions that you will need to know that may hopefully be in the BIM management plan, or if not, would be in a Revit project kickoff meeting. Things like, which version of Revit are they using? If a new release comes out during the project, will they upgrade? Will they not upgrade? If so, how? When you lay out levels, whose levels you use? The architect's, structural, whose grid lines? Structural design, architect's grid lines. What level of development, level of detail? Are they shared via FTP, email, new format? If so, how often? Is it live? Do you need access to certain things? Who are the team members? I know I've had a project. I joined the project halfway through CDs, replaced, joined an existing project at a company and, did the work, submitted it for that, whatever that weekly or that submittal was, and the architect came back, you're using the wrong furniture. Why are you using the wrong furniture? And the managers got that, came back to the office and said, you're using the wrong, I'm like, I'm using the furniture that's in the architect's Revit model. How can it be the wrong furniture? Okay, so I made absolutely sure for the next submission that I was showing their furniture, that it was the right ones. Best as I could tell, I think I sent an email, said, okay, which furniture do I show? And I got back kind of a short email on, if you right-click on the item, you can hide by element. Like, that was not the question. Like, okay, fine, I'll just, I will show my best guess. Here's the furniture, put it in there. I'm showing the architect's furniture. Came back, no, you're showing the wrong furniture. Turned out there was 2 architects for not that big of a project. No one told me. I had no files from the other architect, had no mention, no emails, no FTP, no nothing, no indication that there were 2 architects on this project, and one of them was doing furniture but not in the whole building. So architect A had furniture throughout the whole building, and half of it was right and half of it was obsolete. Architect B, when I finally did get their files, they also had furniture throughout the whole building, but half of it was right and half of it was obsolete. So I still wasn't sure whose furniture do I show and why is there redundant stuff in here, and if somebody would just tell me, because I have no way of knowing.
Actually, if you remember, it was actually for the school, the Department of Redundancy Department.
It was for well, yeah, I probably shouldn't be giving away, telling which one it was.
The Department of Redundancy Department.
Yeah, again?
Yes.
Again, okay.
That's why they needed the furniture twice.
Again.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes something as simple as finding out who the team members are can be important. Because, there was no indication that I had to have another file that no one had sent me to show furniture. And even then, there was no indication of which, because they both populated all the rooms with, so, a kickoff meeting is important. Coordinate systems, coordination, team members, there's a ton of stuff. In fact, I just was, looking for a resource that I could share with you this morning. So I went through really quickly. There's on the Augie website, there's a blog, an entry by R. Robert Bell on, it looked like some pretty good stuff. I didn't read every line, but it looked pretty good. Some suggestions for a kickoff meeting or an FAQ or something to start off with to coordinate between the team members. Okay, but hopefully I beat that horse enough. Set up project folders.
Well, now we're going to get a call from PETA. That's great.
For beating up horses?
Yeah.
Hey, I have a horse. Does that mean I won't get a call?
Of course,
can I make that? So the setting up the project folders can probably be very similar to your AutoCAD folders. I know when I've set them up, I ended up using the same folders and just adding one for families, for blocks per project. Other than that, most of the time, my Revit projects and my AutoCAD projects have the same folder structure. Okay, so now we're at the point where you have the file from the architect, you save that project file, and that's where we'll pick up. So I'm going to jump into Revit right now. There we go. So I'm in Revit. I don't have anything open. I'm going to start a brand new file. This is a template that I've customized. I started with an out-of-the-box template. I've added some notes on here. This part is just while I'm working on it, leaving a basic splash screen. So you can see there's nothing in this project yet. I would put in the project name, put in the project number. I'm not going to put that in right now just to spare you the pain of watching me try and type out words and hopefully maybe sometimes spell them right, especially when there's an audience. So different companies have different splash screens. You can put as much or as little on as you want. This is optional. Revit doesn't care, but it is a good practice, and most companies that I've seen do have some sort of a splash screen, whether it's simple like this. Some have had procedures in there, how to close out, how to relinquish work sets, how to print, different print settings, different print whatever, different instructions on there. So I have this in there. This one's pretty basic. It's a good, if you don't already have one of these, it's a good practice. And you might want to look into the last few versions of Revit. I couldn't tell you exactly when. I can set a sheet as a splash screen, and that allows me to link to the project information, so then I wouldn't have to type project number, project name. It allows me to link to a key plan. It gets a little more complicated, which starts to defeat the purpose of having a very basic, simple splash screen, but it can be useful. Okay, so I started the project. The very next thing I'm going to do is enable Worksets, because the third thing I'm going to do is add background links. And if I'm going to add background links, I want them to be on the right workset. So if you haven't enabled Worksets before, it's on the Collaborate tab, very first button, not counting modify. It gives you a dire warning. It's not nearly as bad as it used to be. And to be honest, 99% of the time, well, most of the time, I've left this workset as it is. This time I'm going to change that name to be mechanical, because I never really use Workset 1. Just to keep it simple, I've just left it as Workset 1. So I've enabled Worksets, depending on your semantics. And so I'm going to create a few new ones. Oh, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to start up e-pointer. There we go. And it seems to be stuck on the licensing screen, even though it's, yeah, it's good. I'm going to create a new workset. Let's see if I can there we go. Create a couple new worksets. And so this part I will be doing. So I've got one for mechanical. So I'm assuming it's the full MEP firm, and I'm assuming that everything's in, okay, so I can't talk and type at the same time. So I have a workset each for mechanical, one for plumbing, one for electrical. So if I have everything in one file, I can do it this way. If I don't, you know, maybe you're a company that only does electrical, and then I wouldn't need the other two disciplines. I'm also going to create one. I like to call it link arc because it's easier to type than link architecture. Actually, I didn't quite know. I'm going to create another one, call it link structural. And feel free to spell them out. Revit doesn't care what you spell them, doesn't care if they're all caps, all lowercase, initial caps, whatever makes sense to you. Worksets are, I'd say they're as much art as they are science. Every company will do them a little bit differently. Every project might be done a little bit differently. Generally, I like to do them by discipline, plus maybe a couple more that I might need for visibility control. Maybe I'll do a workset for enlarged rooms. That will allow me to control visibility in enlarged rooms. And likewise, I might make another workset for exterior, for site lighting, you know, whatever it is, whatever may be outside, site drainage. So I might make a couple worksets that I'll use for visibility, for things like that. For right now, I'm going to call this good. And because I forget 9 times out of 10, especially when I'm talking, I'm going to make link architecture the current workset. Oh, let me do. There we go. I'm going to use my red arrows to make that the current workset, because that's the step that I always forget. Because the very next step after I close this is to link in the architect's file, and I want to make sure that I'm on the right workset. So bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to save this file. Yeah, Chris, was there any questions that came up?
There's a couple questions. Aside from the kickoff meeting, there should be a weekly BIM strategy meeting on all BIM projects and hourly communication between teams and offices. Mechanical data coordinating with electrical, structural, architectural, critical to reducing clash problems. The question is, what percentage of offices do you think are using Panzura file systems management and Riverbed WAN optimization tools? That's a tough one, because
that's a long one.
Well, more of a statement than question. The Riverbed is, I've been to a handful of offices that have that. It is a pretty sizable investment to get started using Riverbed. It's hard to say how many are actually using it, though. That's a tough, because we have thousands of customers, so we're not sure exactly. But you know, the larger firms. Some of the larger firms have invested in that technology or that hardware to be able to do that. How effective is the Revit file system management WAN optimization for projects involving Revit MEP?
Yeah, I'll let you continue to field those, Chris, because I was
going to say on that one, the optimization it depends on the size of the project, depends on the communication more than WAN optimization. Making sure everybody's working on the latest, greatest file is what's key with that. Yeah, I would say making sure everybody's on the latest file and the communications is way more important than having $30 or $40 or $50,000 worth of hardware out there, which for geographically dispersed offices, it's phenomenal to have that. But the biggest thing in Revit when working on any project is communication. So make sure everybody's talking and they know who's doing what and what changes have been made. And we've seen a lot of people starting to switch over to Bluebeam and some of the other software just to make sure that they can track the changes and stuff that's been out, that's been put out. So.
Yeah, definitely communication is very important.
Yeah.
Almost, I don't know, I've heard some people say we're almost like going back to old school when firms did communicate with each other. And they've kind of gotten away from that with tight bids and like, well, this is my job, that's your job. I don't want anything about yours. They'll figure it out in the field, and then
right.
And then you get lots of RFIs and questions in the field, and everything changes, and the as-built looks vaguely like your design. But that seems like it's getting back around to more communication and more coordination, and the buildings are getting more complicated.
Speaking of that, there is a Rhombus meeting tonight at Oz Architecture. So take a look at that. Just go up to Meetup and type in ROMBIS. That's Rhombus on the Meetup group. So just type in Google those two words together, and the meeting's tonight.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. I have my template. I have a blank file in here. I did make a little note to myself. You can put, this is just personal preference, but I just added that in there just as a reminder. Anybody else working on this file? Revit 101. Revit is not AutoCAD. Some firms, need to be reminded of that more than others. I think some, lost my train of thought. Some managers, I think, need to be reminded of that more than others, especially when you're first starting off with Revit. I know I've seen where companies, this is great. We got a really big project. It's really, we had to bid really tight to get it. It's going to be really complicated, but it's great. We'll make lots of money because it's really big, even though we bid tight. And oh, by the way, it's in Revit, but that's not a problem, right? Because Revit's just the next version of AutoCAD, right? I'm like, yeah, no, you're going to lose money because there's a learning curve. There is absolutely a learning curve. You can't go into it and just treat it like the next version of Revit. It is absolutely, next version of AutoCAD. It's not AutoCAD. It's not CAD. It's a different design. It's a different deliverable. Same design intent, but the the construction documents are going to be the same, but just about everything else is going to change, and the industry is changing. But anyway, let me jump to. So I have a project. I just went to a floor plan. Nothing too important. I need to link in. Where am I going? Link in my Revit file. Now I have the architect's background. I need to link it in. I'm going to find it. And always, 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 except when you don't, choose origin to origin. So as part of that kickoff meeting, or part of the BIM management plan, if you have shared coordinates, that will be the best one. But depending on the project, if it's a large project, multiple buildings on a campus, you'll probably have shared coordinates. If it's not, you quite likely won't have shared coordinates, and then you want to choose origin to origin. I really, really wish Autodesk would not use center to center as their default. It's always been that way. I don't know, 10 out of 10 people I've asked would prefer a default to origin to origin. Yeah, so yeah, you can try bringing it in. In fact, let me go ahead and do this really quick. I'll do shared coordinates. Just a quick way to find out. Does this project have shared coordinates? Nope, does not have shared coordinates. So the default, and that's where it gets doubly stupid, defaults to the center to center. Okay, well that's wrong. I don't want that. I'm actually going to undo, but that was a pretty quick way for me to find out if they had shared coordinates. So I'm going to link it in again, just because, see, base, shared origin. Okay, that was just a quick way for me to check and see if they have shared coordinates, and they don't. So all right, I hit undo. Now I'm going to link it in the right way, origin to origin, and for The projects I've worked on, 90% of them were origin to origin. Your projects might be different. So if you work on larger projects, maybe a campus, college, hospital. Excellent. So I have my project file linked in. I have my architect's building linked in. It's there. I can see it. If you can't see the building, if it doesn't show up on a floor plan, try the 3D view. See if it shows up in there. Then you can verify that the building did come in, but it might be linked 100 feet above your level 1. It might be linked 5,280 feet above your level. It might be at actual elevation, or it might be level 0. Just something to watch out for, especially here in Denver. And I forget if it's like East Coast tends to link it in at 0, and West Coast tends to link in their files at 100 feet above 0, or it's the other way around. I don't remember which is which. So here in Colorado, we tend to get both. Plus, we get sometimes actual elevation, the 5,000 feet above sea level, which we can change, we can address. I'll just look at that really quickly. I can see on mine. Let me move.
Can you pull a Google Rhombus meetup Rhombus?
Sure, I can pull that up. Next time I get to a pause, a waiting point, I'll bring that up. So you can see my levels 1 and 2 on the left. It's like level 1 matches. Okay, yeah. Well, no. Level 2, the architect's ceiling. I've got a roof line. Okay, so I do need to match their levels. Well, my level 1 matches, my level 2 doesn't. Sometimes you run into it where their building is 100 feet above your level 1 and 2. Alrighty, let me switch back. So I have the file linked in. I'm just going to save it. Oh, wait a minute. My save isn't working. If I click on this, I don't know if you can see the save button is grayed out. And if I click on it, I don't know if you can hear the mouse, but it's not working. Once I've made a central file, once I've enabled Worksets and saved it, it becomes a central file. I can't have a central file without Worksets. I can't have a Worksets without central local file relationship. Once that happens, now I have 2 buttons. The save button saves locally. The synchronize to central, the button right next to it, saves the central file, or to the central file. Right now, I'm actually in the central file since I just made it. I don't need to compact it. So a quick way to tell if I'm working in the central file, I just have the save the central icon. The brain freeze save button is grayed out. Normally, most of the time when you're working, you'll have both of these. Save and save the central will both be working. Will both be lit up. That's the quickest way to tell if you're working in a central file or a local file or a non-central workset enabled file. Alrighty, so I brought this in. I need to copy monitor, I need to copy monitor those grids. Levels and grids. That's the next step. Let me there we go. So I've created a new project. I've enabled Worksets. And I added the background link. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide. So I've started the Revit file. Now we need to match the building. So the first step is copy monitor levels. I'll do that, and it'll be the same process for grids. We'll skip that just to save time because you don't need to watch me do that. So copy monitor levels. The first one, you know what? That first one lines up. The second one is in metric. Like, why are my numbers not matching up? So, yeah, I could go and change that file. That would be something else to look at in the kickoff meeting. Is the prime architect, are they in Toronto? Are they working in metric? Maybe the project's in metric. So I don't normally do this. I'm going to drag and snap. Oh, it's not snapping. Okay. There's a couple other methods when we get into the copy monitor, just for the sake of time. And you can sue me later. This is horrible. I hate that I'm doing this, but I don't want to take a whole lot of time. What time is it? Yeah, we don't have time, but I'm going to cheat. Okay, so copy monitor. I'm going to manage those grids. Copy monitor. Use select link. And this is a step if I'm click on any part of the architect's file, and if you can see the border showing or the perimeter showing up. If I happen to miss and I click the mouse and I miss the command, I miss the building, nothing happens. It doesn't tell me that the command ended. It just ends. So I just have to know that. I have to go back, select the link. When it works, it takes me into sketch mode. Got the big green check, the big red X. All right, so I'm going to start off with just monitoring. If I didn't have levels, I could copy them. So I'm just going to monitor my level 1 versus the architect's level 1. And you know what? Just because that worked, I'm going to finish this. That's a completely extra step. Come back into it, but I know that one's done. Because this time I'm going to go into the options, and where are we at? Level 1. Okay, use levels with the same name. Reuse matching levels. No offset. Reuse if we have, whatever. I guess I won't be reusing the matching levels. I can add a suffix to the name or a prefix. So if I want my company name, if I want MEP or just a discipline, I can add that suffix to the level 1 or prefix. So let's say level 1, my company name, or level 1 MEP, just so I can see the difference. I'm not gonna bother with that. I also have options for levels, grid lines. I can come in here and make any changes if I have additional ones to choose from. That's fine. I'm not going to copy monitor columns. I'm not going to copy monitor walls, and I'm not going to copy monitor floors. Between architects and structural, they're mine. So those options are good. So now I'm going to do the same thing with level 2, my level 2 versus the architect's level 2. Those are matched up now. And so I could close out of that, but I don't need to. I'm going to use another command. I'm going to copy, since I don't have the roof line. Now that's my train of thought. Copy. Okay, so I'm going to copy this one over. There we go. Thanks about it. All done. And while that's thinking, I'll apologize for brain freezes. Do you ever notice how the number of people watching determines how well your brain works? I know whenever I'm in class and I try and spell something, the bigger the class, the more horrible my spelling is. And so right now, I don't know how many people are on there, but I'm like, oh, I can't move, can't snap my level. So that's not going to work, Chris, because the keyboard's over here. Brain freeze. Right, I'm having a lot of brain freeze this morning. So yes, I should have used the move command to move that level, and then I could have gotten the snaps. I was just talking and clicking and typing, and the brain doesn't always work right. So yes, the move command would have worked. Thank you. So I'm going to finish this out. I have all 3 levels. There we go. And I'm pretty much done with this view. Well, I can align this 3rd level. If you're not familiar with it, the levels that I can click on are mine. If I click on anything to the right, if I click on the other levels, try and select it, I can't get just one level unless I hover tab click. But if I click on one of those, I get the entire building because it's one link. It's one XREF. That's a quick way to tell which levels are mine and which levels are linked into the architects. And it tells me it's a linked Revit file. It gives me the file name. Alrighty. Jump back to that. So I've copy monitored levels. Let's just say that I copy monitored grids. It's the same process. I'd say 99% of the companies that I've talked to do copy monitored levels, and maybe 90% copy monitor grids. Not everybody copy monitors grid lines. Some will make their own. And this is more coming from an MEP perspective, as most of the clients that I've talked to. Although on the grid lines, I know after working on one project and we got involved during the DD phase, I think it was, but the grid lines, it was a little slightly bigger than this project, but the grid lines kept moving a little. They were adjusted, they'd rename, which meant that every time we got an updated file, okay, we got to go into copy monitor. It's not hard. Doesn't take that much time, but it was 10 minutes of billable time that I'm not going to get back every time there was an update. Maybe 15 minutes. It depends on what was changed. Of just going in and chasing around levels for something that we really didn't care about levels. Or grid lines, sorry. We didn't care about the grid lines. We had to show them, but we weren't really using them. So at that company, we decided, you know what, we're not going to copy monitor grid lines until the SD phase, just so that they settle down and stop moving, because it was just extra time that we didn't need to spend. Now you might run into issues. Sometimes the grid lines are unruly. They'll go off your crop region. They'll go through the title block. we're just going to deal with that for the DD and SD phase, and we'll clean it up when we get to the CD phase. Alrighty, so I have grid lines, I have levels. Let's see what I have next. All right, so we have the file in there. We have it I have it set up so that I can see, I've started to create a place to work. I have floor plans. So I have some floor plans in this file because I've created some floor plans ahead of time. Whatever you do in your template is already done by the time you start this project. So for this, in my template, I only have 2 levels. If you normally work on higher buildings, you might want to put in 3 or 4 or 5 levels, whatever is common for project that you work on, because it's easier to add them once to your template, and then if you don't need them, it's pretty quick and easy to delete the levels. But then if you do need them, you don't have to take the time to create them for every project. So if I have levels, the big thing that levels can do is create views. So now that I have levels in there, I can create plan views, I can create reflective ceiling views, RCPs. So I have, let's look mechanical. I have first floor, second floor. I don't have a roof plan. So in this one, that's the only level that I don't have yet. Plan view, where's my plan view? Plan view, floor plan, roof plan. Okay. I can also, while I'm creating this, if I want to save some time, I can tell Revit, maybe I have something set up for a roof plan. I don't. In this file, what if I did? I could have that assigned, so it automatically takes all those settings for the view setting and makes a roof plan. Yeah. So now I have a roof plan. It's called roof line. Close enough. I took its name from the level. This one's set up for mechanical. Looks like I need to change that view template just a little bit. I could have this set up to show me the roof and mechanical equipment, maybe some drainage, whatever I want to see on the roof. I can have that already set up in Visible Graphics. And in this case, it looks like, well, I don't have a flat roof. It's not a commercial building. So my view range needs to be adjusted. I don't know if you can see it's cutting through part of the roof and looking into the second floor of the building. Okay, so I need to fix my view range a little bit, which is the next step. I've created some views. Most of mine are already done because I had it done in my template. I have RCP, I have plan views, I have RCPs, I have some notes done. I probably need to create some more, but for right now I'm going to keep going. We need to set some view settings for my plan views, for my RCPs, for my isometric. If you have plumbing access, whatever else you need, we can set those site plans. I think I do have a site plan in this one. There it is. Here's my site plan. It's already set up, but I can go in there and make some other changes if I need to. So one of the things I would do, and this is what could take the entire rest of the day, is tweaking this view and all the other views. So this one I can see clear. First thing I need to do is fix the view range. I also want to halftone my grid lines. I want to make sure everything's set up. This one's controlled by a template. I can go in here and make those changes in the template, in the view template, rather, that is. And that can take, every project's going to be different. Bigger projects will take longer. More complicated projects will take longer. So that's this step, which I'm not going to take the time to go into. All your view settings for all of your views. That way you can save yourself some time and get everything set up. And at some point you'll save this file or share this file with the rest of the team members. It could be now, it could be after the title block. That part's pretty nebulous, depends on how soon they want to start working on it. So let's just say that I've done this step, and then that could take, however much time it takes. Oops, next thing I need to do, come on, there we go, load the title block. Now if the architect sent you the title block, great. If they didn't send it to you, you can still retrieve it from their file. I'll show you kind of a quick way to get it. I have Revit links. What do I have? Oh, I guess I was messing around with this file a little bit earlier. Well, I can just remove this one. Remove. Can I remove from here? No, I got to go to my manage links. So I'm just going to ignore that. Pretend that one's not there. I'm going to open this file. Revit gives you a scary warning. Says you can't hit undo is basically all that means. I have to hit reload. To retrieve their title block, quickest way, I open the title block, I double click on it, I'll save it to my library for this project. So let's assume this project, the title block is for this project from this client. Oops, there we go. I'm done with their file, so I've closed the architect's file. Now that I have their title block, it's saved to my library. I'm going to load it back into my project. And, yeah, okay, I know I can't create this in kind of view. That's fine. Now I have that title block. It's in my project. It's in my family. It's in my annotation families, wherever it's at, whatever it is. I have that file in here. And looks like my building has disappeared. Well, that's because I had to unload the file. It's pretty quick to reload. Just scroll all the way down to your project browser. You can right-click on the file and do basic load, reload, unload, reload from there. Okay, so now I have my building back. And so let's see what step we're up to now. I've loaded the title block. If I already have some sheets, if I have some sheets, great. I just need to swap out the title block. If not, I can create some sheets. Let's take a look at that. So, do I have any sheets? I happen to know that I do have sheets in here. Let me close the families. Great, there's some sheets. Okay, I have some sheets. And, I still have my title block just because that's what I used. I can swap this out for the architects. So it happens to be just the one that I pulled. It's called A1 metric. So let's see what this looks like. Alrighty, so let's assume that it's the right size title block. And if not, maybe this project is different. You see that I have some things on my sheet already. I just put in some general HVAC notes, That will be, every project can be changed. It can be a little bit differently. I have an air terminal schedule. It's empty. I put in the columns. Revit will put in the rows for me. Since I haven't added any design elements yet, so that's still blank. Oh, and would you look at that? I have a view on this sheet. It looks like it needs a little tweaking. It needs some cropping. It was a good guess. Maybe it worked. Maybe it didn't. So I'm kind of 50-50 on whether to have a view on the sheet in the template or not. If you normally work with the same type of projects, maybe the same architect frequently, if there's some consistency in the size of the project or the location, if it's the same architect and they always use their same origin, the same grid lines, I probably could put this on my sheet and it'd be pretty close. This one, maybe not so much. So I'm going to end up deleting this one and drag it on again. I waste, I don't know, how long does it take? Let's see, select, delete. Okay, what was that, 2 seconds? I wasted 2 seconds by having that on my sheet. But if it had lined up, I would have saved me, a handful of seconds. So it's up to you whether you put the view on the sheet already. Put the view on the sheet before you start the project. I do put other views on the sheets. I have other views ready. I do recommend that. Have as much setup as possible in the template ahead of time, because then if you do it once in the template, you won't have to do it for every project. It'll save you time going down the road. A lot of things in Revit are like that. The time I spend up front, a lot of times in Revit you put in more time up front, but then you'll benefit as it goes further down the line. As the project continues, you'll make up that time again and again and again. Revit is very good at the economy of scale and consistency. Okay, so I've got a title block. I created some sheets. Maybe I need to create some more. And then add some views to the sheets as needed. Maybe you have some views on the sheets, maybe not. Let's take a look at that. So there's my HVAC, my mechanical. All right, looks like it needs to be cropped. So I'll clean this up, and then you'll go through every project. Come on, where's my crop region? Did it not? There we go. I guess I missed. I'll crop this to whatever it needs to be. I'll go through, and I talked about cleaning up the visibility graphics. I've got trees in there. I don't need that on my mechanical plan. So I'll go into visibility graphics, or I'll apply a template, or maybe I did apply a template and I forgot who thought of turning off trees in a mechanical view. But obviously I do need to turn off the trees in this one. And then I can drag this onto my sheets. Oops, my bad. Sorry, I got too many views open. There we go. I'll show you something that I learned not that long ago. If I don't have the sheet open, I can drag it to the sheet within my project browser, and if you can see that on the left, let go of the mouse, it opens that sheet. Now I can drag it on there. So it's a little bit reduces some of the mouse yoga for getting everything lined up. Lined up on your sheets, or having the right view and the right sheet on the screen at the same time. Just a handy little trick that I learned surprisingly relatively recently. I have no idea how long it's been in Revit. I'm afraid to look. Okay, so yeah, I think we've created a place to work. We've got this set up. So some things that you can do, and I've hinted to some of these, to make your setup faster. The first thing let's do is transfer project standards. All right, let's take a look at my sheet. So I can go in here. I can type in, let's see, sorry, I can't. W-F-O-R-D. You can't talk and type at the same time. See, I told you I can't talk and type at the same time. I was going to type Crawford Memorial Hospital. I couldn't even get my own name typed in.
Well, it's actually Crawford, not Crawford.
It's extra. It's the original Gaelic. I don't know. Well, so instead of typing, because I'm obviously a bad typer, on the Manage tab I have Transfer Project Standards. I can bring in project info, and why they didn't spell out project information, there's plenty of room here. I don't know, but watch what happens to my title block when I transfer this in from the architect's file. Whatever the architect typed in, whatever's in that file comes in. Whether did they spell out Colorado, did they spell CO, did they capitalize CO, did they spell out street, did they spell out the client's name, did they abbreviate the client's name, did they misspell the client's name, doesn't matter. You copied their data exactly, and that's the same as my project information. So it brought in, all of this. See, so I'm going to try and spell my own name again. So, but I can't talk while I'm doing it. Oh, I spelled it right. Let me do a capital. Blah 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 blah. So I can put in, I can override that. Maybe my project number is different than theirs, but the rest of it is probably going to be the same client, same address, same project names, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it saves me a lot of typing, and it's consistent. The architect can't complain that you did spell something different, spelled it wrong, didn't do the same whatever, same name, because you copied it right from their file.
Does it ever crash? According to that statement or comment, it can crash occasionally.
I have never had that happen. Whoops, wrong one. Transfer project standards. The first thing that I do is I hit check none, because I don't want to run the risk of everything in this list coming in. So the very first thing I do is check none. I've never had a crash. I guess I could check with Juge. I think he's more wary of it, more cautious, and I think he's had it where everything is checked to bring it in. I've never ever done that, because I don't want most of these items from another file. I want my keynote settings. I want my line patterns. I want my panel schedule templates. I wouldn't want to bring these in from the architect's file ever, especially panel schedule templates, cable tray sizes, and things that are in their file, like a roof soffit setting. I'm sure their settings are great for that. I will never use those because I don't do roof soffits. So I've never had trouble with it, and I haven't really looked to see if this does have any instability. And Revit has been getting more and more stable. Half a dozen versions ago, yeah, you wanted to save a lot more frequently. So let's see where we're at.
The connection to crash is the filters.
We've brought in transfer project standards. You don't have to do that, but it can make your project faster. I can set up view templates. That can definitely make things faster as I'm working in a view.
What setting did you transfer?
Oh, I'll come back to that in 1 second. Brain freeze. Okay, so on the View tab, I have View Templates. I have a few View Templates in here. Mechanical ceiling, mechanical plan. I have plumbing plan, plumbing section. I have some View templates in here that I've customized for my standards, for my projects, the way I want to see things, my line weights, my visibility. I might even have two sets, maybe a working view template and a printing view template. Although with Revit 14, I think, and 15, I can temporarily override view templates, which I think is finally, after about 3 versions of changes, is the way that I think it's a very good workflow as far as locking down view templates and using those. So I have view templates in here. Maybe I need to come in and tweak some of these. Where's my site plan? I have a scale. I have, that's not the file I was looking for. These are not the files you're looking for. Yeah, so I have some view templates in here. It looks like I need to go back and tweak some of these because of the settings. So if you have your view templates, the bottom line is if you have your view templates set up ahead of time, I can just apply them to my view and done. The view is how I want it to look, and I'll need to crop it manually, and then it's basically ready to print. Every project's going to need a little tweaking. Oh yeah, I have the trees showing up in this one. So I do need to apparently go and clean up my view templates. I thought I had done this, but maybe it was in a different, maybe it was a different template. So spend some time setting up view templates. The more time you spend at the beginning, the more time you'll save as time goes on. Another thing you can do, you can set up your keynotes. If you do that ahead of time, it can save you some time. It's a text file. There's tools. I have a webinar on that, a couple, maybe 1 or 2 webinars on that. On using keynotes, there's some tools that you can use that can make that go faster. Keynotes, flag notes, I've heard them called call-out notes. In Revit terms, call-out is something different. Okay, so we're getting close to the end. There's some optional things you can do, but sometimes they're not optional. Like maybe the project has phasing. Like maybe you're doing renovation of an existing building, then you're, well, out of the box, actually phasing will work for existing and new construction. But if there's 2 phases, or if you need to match the architect's phases, you'll need to go and set up your phases. So this is optional. You may or may not need to do this. Bringing in views from AutoCAD. You may or may not need to bring in views from AutoCAD. Oh shoot, I was going to make a joke about that one program and pretend to forget the name of what that AutoCAD was called, but that's too late now. I already said it. Anyway, like AutoCAD. I think I used to use that program once. Anyway, design options. If you're required to do design options or add alternates, you'd want to set those up. So maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe this is optional. Whoops. There we go. Okay, let's say you have a multi-discipline firm, and maybe I've set up this file for electrical, or set it up for everybody. Maybe I've put in mechanical views and sheets, and plumbing views and sheets, and whatever I forgot, mechanical, plumbing, electrical. I did all 3 views and sheets. Okay, but from here on out, we're going to do 3 different files just to keep the work separate, keep the file smaller. It might be faster for me. In fact, this is how I've done it. I set it up as one file, so then I only have to link in the file once. I don't have to open 3 different files and link it in 3 different times. I only have to set the view range once. I only have to copy monitor levels once. I only have to copy monitor grids once. I only have to set up a number of things once. And then once it's all set up, and I might even keep this one project for the first round of sheets and markups, because that's when others will notice that, oh, your view range still isn't right, the furniture is showing up and it shouldn't be, or it should be and it's not, and then I'll only have to fix that in one file, and then I'll just do a save as for the other disciplines. And
view range is inactive for the plans that I've created.
I might have to ask for some clarification on that one. But yeah, I'll answer some questions in just a moment, kind of winding down. I don't want to take too long. I think we're okay on time as long as I keep going. So I know I've done it that way, or I've saved the...
and we are recording this, and we'll try and post it up as quickly as possible.
Yep, we are recording it, and most of the time the recording works. I know I've had once, maybe twice, where the GoToMeeting Citrix processes it afterwards, and I'll come back in 20 minutes, still processing. 40 minutes, still processing. Go back at 5 o'clock in the evening, still processing, and it's just locked up. It's crashed, so that recording is just...
garbage.
Yeah, it's just not there. So it's been a couple of those, but most of the time. Denny is out this week. I think she usually posts it, so I don't know. I couldn't tell you what day it's going to be posted up, but as soon as we can get it out, we'll put it on our website. So, question. So what was the question?
View range is inactive for the plans that I've created.
Inactive. I'm guessing that could be because of a view template, like this view that I happen to be on. If I look at, where'd it go? Okay, not that view actually. Bear with me 1 second. I'll find a view where I can find, okay, here's a view range. I have my view range, and the button is grayed out. If I click on the button, nothing happens. I can't open my view range. It's controlled by a view template. There's my view template. If I have a view template assigned, if view range is enabled in the view template, view range, if this box is checked, the view range is controlled by this template, which is good for consistency, especially if you have a multi-story building, multiple parts to it. I can control my view range and any other view setting with my templates. But let's say maybe the view range, the floor is different for every part of the building. So I uncheck that box. Now I can go to the view range, and there it is. Now I can access the view range. It's been unlocked. That's usually what I've seen. Let's see. Is there another question?
Yeah, if you're working on a large building doing the MEP, is there any benefit to linking M, E, and P into the large file versus one large file?
The advantage of keeping it in one file with all three disciplines working in one file is some coordination. Like say if mechanical puts in their mechanical equipment, electrical can circuit to that and get the loads. If the equipment is resized, gets bigger, smaller, whatever, changes out manufacturers, the electrical load will probably change, and that will be immediately reflected for the electricals. The disadvantage is you have 3 times as many views to scroll through, 3 times as many sheets to scroll through, and the file just can get really big. If it's a small project like the one I have on the screen, yeah, this one would be perfectly fine as 3 disciplines, even 4 or 5 disciplines in one file. This one would be fine. Let me make this a little bit prettier. Where's my discipline? Why is that? Anyway, it's shaded anyway. You can see what it looks like. The disadvantage is the file gets bigger and bigger, it gets slower and slower, and things can get confusing. So there's not one hard answer. There's not, at 15,000 square feet, you need to split into 3 files, and less than that, every company's different as personal preference. No offense, but the question about finding the origin of a project plan, like, ooh, that's something I don't want to get into right now. That's kind of a can of worms opening up the. I'll do it really quickly, but that could be a 2-hour webinar, 3-hour if I got into coordinate systems. So where am I going? Site plan. On the site plan, I have, if you can see the blue. I'm going to call it blue dot. The blue circle with an X. There is I'll select it, my project base point. I have a project base point. There's the other one. Oops, sorry. I have come on, there it is, survey point. I have both of those inside. The quickest way to find those, if they're not showing up, I have a site plan that already shows those. If you go into visibility graphics and it's underneath, I think, a site category, it's a subcategory. I forget what it's underneath though. If it's under site, it's not topography. I forget what it's under, but it's a subcategory in your visibility graphics. And I'm trying to wind down here. So we've gone through these. So Chris, you want to talk about, well, I'll just mention the other services that we have at CAD-1. We have classroom training. I was in a class yesterday. I had a class last week. We do custom training. I do a lot of custom training. Well, what's the break-even point? Like if a company has a number of employees that they want to send to a Revit class, if they have 3 employees, is it cheaper to send to a custom one? Or
it's basically the same price at 3 employees versus taking a standard class. So we've been just seeing a huge uptick in people doing custom classes. So if you guys are interested and you have 3 students, or if you know another company you can work with and they're interested in training, get 3 students. The class will be customized for you guys versus a standard class that travels at the speed of the slowest student. So that's it's one of those things that you will work on either your project or a similar project and only answer what you want us to cover. So
cool. Yeah, and I do a lot of that. We do mobile labs. It could be a custom class wherever you're at. I've been in Reno. Where else have I been? I can't now that I'm on the spot, I'm drawing a blank.
Bethune.
I haven't been.
You haven't been to Bethune?
I haven't been to Bethune. I don't know where that. Brian goes to Rollins a lot. It seems to be his second home. Haley.
Yes.
I forget where Jude has been to. Anyway, so we have mobile labs.
We're also going to be, Matt's going to be heading up, I think it's to Casper.
Yes.
To do a a training up there as well. So anybody that's up that neck of the woods, then you can don't have to come down here. You can just stay up there. So
yeah, and I'm going to be doing some training in Casper in August. I think we're doing an event there, but the dates aren't nailed down yet, so I don't have anything specific. But coming up to Casper soonish, just to do an event, I believe, a free. Don't quote me on that, but I believe so.
I'll never go because ghosts freak me out. Casper.
But he's a friendly ghost.
I don't care. Ghosts freak me out.
But we have online classes. We have online mentoring. We have support. We have Autodesk and Bluebeam. The first, I believe, we're the first company, the place where you can get in-person Bluebeam training. There's a lot online, but we actually do it in person, so you can talk to a person, talk to a live person, ask a question, raise your hand, get basic questions. Some things coming up, some events and webinars. Well, let me switch over tonight. Come on. Why is that?
There's one on July 24th, too.
There it is. There's a Rhombus meeting tonight.
They spell it a little bit different, ROMBIS.
Rocky Mountain Building Information Society, Rhombus. So it's tonight. Where's it at again, Chris?
Oz Architecture. If you scroll down, you can see the address right.
You mean RNL?
I'm sorry, RNL, yeah.
So it's at RNL. So there's the address. It's tonight. It's free. There's food there. Who's paying for the food, Chris?
We are sponsoring it this evening.
Woohoo!
CAD-1 is.
CAD-1 is sponsoring the food. It'll be RNL, and it'll be tips and tricks from their RTC Revit Technology Conference a few weeks ago. There's a lot of good stuff there. A lot of good sessions, classes. Some other things coming up on Autodesk First. August 1st is an Autodesk certification day. I believe there's already some people signed up. If you want to get certified in Revit or AutoCAD or Civil 3D or Map, Maya, whatever, the Revit, just FYI, if you haven't looked into it, there's Revit certification. It's only Revit architecture. So feel free to request a Revit MEP certification. The more people request it, the more likely they'll have it. You can certainly absolutely take the Revit architecture test, but they will probably ask questions on stairs and doors. So just be aware of that. There's Revit Radio and Revit Schedules coming up on August 14th. Revit Radio is just a wide open call-in, no agenda, no schedule. Just ask your questions. Also going to look at Revit Schedules.
That one is not recorded.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's not 100% politically correct.
Right.
And on August 26th, there's projects combining Revit and that other program that people sometimes use. Chris, do you have anything?
Nope. Anybody who did make it out to our Customer Appreciation Day, we do appreciate you guys heading out there. Tons and tons and tons of great prizes. Pretty much we're not going to get paid for a month because that was our paycheck that paid for those. But yeah, we even gave away a quadcopter for the best selfie on Facebook on the CAD-1 website, on the CAD-1 Facebook page. So,
and that was kind of fun. So, so if you're at the very beginning when you start your first Revit project, rule number 1: don't panic. Okay, the previous webinars. Okay, I can pull that up. Where are we at on time? Oh, I will pull that up.
You just go to CAD-1 on the left-hand side. You click on webinars. Just click on the CAD-1 thing on the top left-hand corner.
So on our webpage side, on that interweb thing.
Right, but you go to the homepage first.
Okay.
You can always click on our little logo. That's the homepage. So on the top, you can go to the green bar. On the left, you can go to it where it says webinars. Right there. Click on that, and at the top of the webinars, you'll see View Webinar Archive. Or click here to see our webinar archive. Click on that, and you can see the old webinars, and then as soon as his super fast computer pulls it up, there's other classes that your schedule's up there as well. So,
all right. Oops. And I was just going to bring this up. So we have a calendar is also on the website. These are some of the things coming up. We're already halfway through. Wow, we're halfway through July already. Can you believe that? I feel really old today. Anyway.
I can't believe that, Tony. That is amazing that we're halfway through July.
Never mind.
And Sturgis is right around the corner.
Oh. When it is the first week in August?
It is the first week in August. Yeah, it is. Also, any of you guys that are logged in that are currently unemployed, if you scroll up a little bit, CAD-1 sales team on the right-hand side. Give me a call if you guys are unemployed and you're electrical. I do have a company that's looking at hiring. It is in South Dakota, though, so it's in Rapid City. But hit me up if you're interested in that. Company's been around for a while. I think they're the largest firm that's up there. So give me a call, the 428-2404.
Cool. All righty. We're out of time. Thank you for joining us. Good luck.